How can you frighten a man whose hunger is not only in his own cramped stomach, but in the wretched bellies of his children? You can't scare him. He has known a fear far beyond any other. John Steinbeck accurately portrays the suffering of many families during the Great Depression. In his book, The Grapes of Wrath, he tells of a family's hardships as they travel through states savagely decimated by the Great Dust Bowl. The Great Plains of the United States suffered the most severely because of the catastrophic events of the Great Dust Bowl. The inception, manifestation, and continuation of the Great Dust Bowl exacerbated the many trials of the Great Depression.
The Great Dust Bowl began in the 1930s when dust storms roamed the American and Canadian plains. The origins of the Great Dust Bowl can be traced back to land acts passed with the intent of helping people, but actually had the opposite result. The Kincaid Act allowed people to claim sizable portions of land where large farms were necessary to gain income. The enlarged Homestead Act increased the amount of land that one person could claim from 160 acres to 320 acres. These two acts gave people access to vast amounts of land for farming. However, the prices for crops such as wheat dropped from $2 a bushel to 40 cents a bushel. Farmers needed to grow many more crops to maintain the same income as before. Because of the excessive farming, the land was quickly depleted of necessary nutrients and minerals. In fact, some landowners were paid by the government to not farm. The drought in 1930 aggravated the situation even further. Crops and grass soon died from lack of rain, and there were no plant roots of any kind to keep the wind from throwing the dust and dirt all over the place. All the dust and dirt flying around gave this time period the name the Dirty Thirties, or the Great Dust Bowl. The Dirty Thirties hit the U.S. with an iron fist to the stomach. The manifestation of the Great Dust Bowl reached throughout all of America, even though it originated in the Great Plains. There were about 35 million acres of land that could not be used for farming, and 125 million acres that were quickly losing topsoil. More than 750,000 farmers lost their livelihoods and their homes. Some dust storms extended over thousands of miles, traveling from Kansas all the way to the East Coast. Dust blew over Washington, D.C. and New York City, covering the Statue of Liberty and the ships that rested in the Atlantic Ocean. The worst dust storm occurred on April 4, 1935, and was described as a wall nearly 2 miles high, comprised of 3 million tons of topsoil. This event, named Black Sunday, was a brutal manifestation of how the Great Dust Bowl intensified the tragedies of the Great Depression. With the Great Dust Bowl manifesting such great devastating destruction, cooperation to stop the continuation of this disaster should have been sought by all. Over 75% of topsoil was lost, which greatly decreased land value, all due to erosion. Many stubborn farmers refused to plant crops that would grow on the eroded land, making the Dust Bowl continue even longer. Some homesteaders did their best to try and lessen the persistent effects of the Dust Bowl by conserving food and learning farming practices that were sustainable. Though the Great Dust Bowl continued to be a problem, these simple practices provide some relief. The only solution that would officially stop the Great Dust Bowl would be the end of the drought, which came in 1939, giving the dry lands a long-needed drink. I hear the first drops. Like the tapping of a stranger at the door of a dream, the rain changes everything. Karen Hesse described the relief that came from the life-giving rain and out of the dust, which was set during the Great Dust Bowl. The beginning, manifesting, and lingering effects of the Dirty Thirties will always remind mankind of the hunger, loss, and anxiety that was spread with each cloud of dust. Through enduring one of America's darkest times, Hopefully, humanity gained wisdom and strength to persevere through future times of peril. The way I see it, hard times aren't only about money, or drought, or dust. Hard times are about losing spirit and hope, and what happens when dreams dry up.